So is this the first time you've done something like this, or what?
Yeah, I've never done anything like this.
That's
So
kind of cool.
I had no idea what to expect.
You want to introduce yourself?
Okay, so Tami Gallagher, and I'm 57 years old.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
So in 2014, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. My mother had passed away from breast cancer in 2002, and I have a sister that was diagnosed 4 years before me. I had always, since my mom's passing, been vigilant about my health, doing monthly exams, having my yearly exams. And my physical exam came back normal and my mammogram came back normal, but my doctor at the time said, you got breast cancer in your history. We probably should get just a baseline breast MRI to have in your record. And that's how they found the tumor. And so they found it on the MRI. I went back for another mammogram, and now they had the MRI to look at, and the mammogram still didn't show the tumor, even though they knew exactly where to look now. So they caught it very early, which was a blessing. My doctor hooked me up with a plastic surgeon, a general surgeon, and my oncologist. And because it was caught so early, I did have to have 3 months of chemotherapy, but normal is 6 months, so I didn't have to have the normal standard of chemo, and I didn't end up having to have radiation because the benefits wouldn't outweigh the negative side effects of it. But I opted, I had options. I could have just had a lumpectomy and radiation, but because of my family history, I opted to just attack this thing head on, and I opted for a double mastectomy. I said, I don't want to wait for the other shoe to drop. I don't want to constantly wonder if it's going to come back. So I opted to do a double mastectomy with reconstruction.
I don't want to pry too much, but if you could just explain the options for reconstruction, what they offered, and what you kind of went with.
Okay, so again, the options I had was I could have just had a lumpectomy, which means they remove the tumor and then they radiate around it, but they leave my breast. I could have opted to have just a single mastectomy of the right breast because there was no cancer in my left breast, or the double mastectomy. And the only reason why they opted, or I had that double mastectomy option, is because of my family history. If I had not had any history, I don't know that they would have, if insurance would have paid for it. So, like I said, I shared with you earlier with my mom, she opted, I think, for a mastectomy of her right breast, and then a year later it showed up in her left breast, and then she had to do another surgery, had a mastectomy of that left breast, and then a year later it showed up in her bones. It just never went away, and I was like, I don't want to have to deal with that, so let's just cut them both off and go from there. And that was kind of, and I talked to my husband about it, and he was extremely supportive. He's like, this is your body. I will love you no matter what. I know it was, horrible watching your mom go through. So whatever you decide, I completely support.
After you had the mastectomy, they talked about reconstruction.
Yes.
There were options with that.
Yeah, so I was actually hoping, because I have a very, very adverse side effect to general anesthesia. I don't do well with surgeries when you have to be put under general. So I was kind of always negotiating with my doctor for a twofer, when you take them out, can you just put the implants in and we're done? Same surgery, so I don't have to be put under again. And that was the original plan. They thought they could do it. Well, once they got in there, they're like, we can't do it because there wasn't enough skin once they took the breast to close over. So I woke up, and then they told me, sorry, so I woke up completely flat. And then they said, once you're done with your chemo treatments, and at that time they thought I was going to have radiation too. Once you're completely done with treatments, we'll do another surgery to put expanders in. We're going to have to expand your skin. And then once the expanders are to where we want them to be, then we'll do another surgery, take the expanders out, and put the implants in. So it was, I call 2015 my year of surgeries. Yeah, it was a lot.
Once again, for some people who don't understand certain things, so you lost pretty much everything.
Yes, I did ask if they could save my nipples, and the answer was, if you want to reduce your chances of reoccurrence to the lowest possible possibility, I recommend you take your nipples because nipples are technically breast tissue. So I said, okay, then just take it all. So they took everything. I don't have to have mammograms anymore because I don't have breast tissue anymore. So they took everything. he had like this little gun with the ink, and like I said, I had to actually have a touch-up because the color wasn't totally right. And it was more he saying, this isn't right, I need you to come back. I think it was more like, I said, the only people that are going to see are me and my husband. It's not like you're getting graded on your work. He's like, no, it's not right. I want to make it right. So I had to go back and endure more pain. When I was diagnosed, it was kind of shocking. My husband really had a hard time, where he got mad at God, like, how dare you? Why would you do this to her? She's, and he struggled with that was a very struggling point for his faith at the time.